Today, we embark on a profound journey through the scriptures as we delve into the timeless tale of Ezekiel and the dry bones. Join me as we unravel the layers of meaning behind this captivating narrative, exploring its relevance and significance in our lives today. As we dive into the depths of this ancient story, I encourage you to engage with the material, ponder its wisdom, and reflect on its implications for our own spiritual journeys. But before we delve any further, make sure to show your support by smashing that like button, thumbs up, sharing this video with your friends and family, and hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications bell so you never miss out on future enlightening discussions. Your participation and enthusiasm fuel our exploration, and your support is what keeps our community thriving. So, without further ado, let's embark on this illuminating voyage together. The vision of the dry bones, Ezekiel's powerful. Among the many visions and prophecies recorded in the book of Ezekiel, one stands out as a dramatic symbolic portrayal of God's plan to restore his people Israel. The vision of the Valley of Dry Bones in Ezekiel 37 is a striking picture of resurrection and spiritual renewal, giving hope to the exiled Israelites that God would one day bring them back from captivity and breathe new life into their nation. The Babylonian conquest of Judah in the early 6th century BC was one of the darkest periods in the history of ancient Israel. After years of disobedience and idolatry, God allowed the powerful Babylonian Empire to conquer and exile the people of Judah as judgment. Jerusalem was left in ruins, the magnificent temple was destroyed, and the Hebrew people were forcibly resettled throughout the expansive Babylonian territories. It was in the midst of this bleak exile that the priest Ezekiel received his prophetic calling. While living among the exiles by the river Chebar, Ezekiel was visited by increasingly dramatic visions from God, messages that combined harsh judgment with glimpses of future hope and restoration. The vision of the Valley of Dry Bones arrives about halfway through the book, coming on the heels of prophecies about the judgment and fall of surrounding nations. The vision begins with Ezekiel being transported in the Spirit of the Lord to a valley filled with dry, scattered bones, Ezekiel 37 verses 1-2. This macabre scene evokes a brutal battlefield where bodies were left unburied, the blazing sun bleaching their bones. As Ezekiel surveys this mass grave, the Lord asks him pointedly, "Son of man, can these bones live?" v. 3. From a human perspective, the answer seems obvious: these bones are utterly dry and lifeless, with no chance of restoration. But Ezekiel responds wisely by deferring to the Lord's power. "O Lord God, you know." v. 3. His answer displays humility and faith that with God, all things are possible. God then commands Ezekiel to prophesy to the bones, an unusual charge that must have seemed bizarre and futile. But Ezekiel obeys, calling out, "Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." v. 4. As the prophet speaks God's life-giving words over the remains, an eerie rattling commences as the bones supernaturally start coming together, with tendons, flesh, and skin covering them, verses 7-8. Though now reconstituted as bodies, the figures remain lifeless, lying on the ground. Ezekiel is then told to prophesy to the breath or wind. The Hebrew word ruach can mean both, calling on it to enter the bodies and revive them, verses 9-10. As Ezekiel obeys this command, amazingly the corpses begin breathing and are resurrected, coming alive as a vast army, v. 10. No longer a valley of death, the bony field is transformed into a powerful revived multitude standing on their feet. The symbolic meaning. On one level, the vision operates as a graphic object lesson to instill hope in the exiled Israelites. Just as the dry bones are brought back to life against all odds, so too will God revive his people who felt like disjointed, dried-up corpses in a foreign land. "Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel," the Lord explains. They keep saying, "Our bones are dried up, and our hope has perished." v. 11. But God promises to open their graves, bring them back into their land, and put His Spirit in them so that they may live, verses 12 to 14. Yet the prophecy carries an even deeper spiritual significance. More than just restoring the Israelites to the promised land physically, God also speaks of reviving them spiritually by putting His Spirit in them. The vision foreshadows the new covenant promised by Jeremiah and Ezekiel, where God will write His law on people's hearts and give them new minds and spirits to obey Him. Jeremiah 31 verses 31 to 34, Ezekiel 36 verses 26 to 27. In this way, the dry bones symbolize God's people in their sinful, utterly spiritually dead state apart from Him. Only by an act of divine resurrection power can they truly live again. Like the scattered bones needing to be reassembled and revived, God's people require comprehensive spiritual reformation, with new hearts, spirits, and obedience to God's ways. The vision's rich imagery provided a powerful metaphor that God would later expound on. In Ezekiel 37 verses 15 to 28, God gives the prophet a second symbolic act using two. Thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more videos.